They needed to get in here because of the heat. Okay, and I didn't answer within 5 minutes, so they called the police on us, and now my husband's tased and getting arrested. Let me the out of this room.
You're not getting out of the room right now.
Why not?
Because right now there's other officers that are...
Because that is... You need to stop what you're doing. You need to stop. This is absurd. Did you tase him again? Are you kidding me?
The very beginning. What happened today? Why were we called?
I'm not gonna start answering questions because
Okay. He was arrested for the same thing he was arrested for last time. So
Which is what?
Assault and battery on you.
Today?
So we heard.
No.
And they didn't. And they gathered their forces and ultimately it led to breaching my door with a battering ram and attacking me.
So, were there any exigent circumstances that would have led the police to believe they needed to gain entry to your home without consent?
There was absolutely zero exigent circumstances that would lead them to believe that anything was going on inside my house that was illegal.
And you say that they... Go ahead.
And you clearly told them, like, hey, you're not... I don't want you coming in my home. You don't have my consent.
Yes, I was very, very, very clear with them in a very...
Loud
and sometimes vulgar way of, you're not coming in my house, because I had done nothing wrong.
Now, when they breached the door, were their weapons drawn? Explain to us what that looked like.
When they tried to come in first, when my wife gave the okay for the landlord to go into the basement to fix the burner that needed to be fixed. At that time, they had one team moving up the stairs. They decided not to breach the door for their own safety reasons. Then, as soon as they were screaming from the hallway, which was right on my immediate right, I saw the door break open. First two police through came with tasers, drawn, pointed at me, and the third one had a handgun pointed at me.
They finally somehow, after they smash his face onto the floor and break his nose and give him a concussion and do all kinds of other damage to him physically.
And then I got dropped somehow. I don't remember, but the police report says he punched me in the nose.
Did you really resist, though, or were you just, like, defending your property against people that were unwelcome and unwarranted in your home?
I resisted an unlawful arrest by intruders in my home.
So, where's your mind at this point? You're on the ground. You just got tased. There's no explanation. What's your headspace like?
Josh, I'm going to be completely honest. It was all I could do to not hurt the officers. I'm not a tough guy, but I knew with that third one with a gun, he would have had no problem killing me. And I did not want my wife to witness that.
On February 2nd, 2024, Concord Police were dispatched to a veteran's home for a safety and welfare check. After the welfare check, a veteran that had committed no crime was charged with witness tampering, assault and battery on a police officer, threats to commit a crime, resisting arrest, and ultimately disorderly conduct. When police showed up in the home, veteran Richard was in good health. This is the result of their wellness check: a broken nose, cracked ribs, and a fractured orbital bone. Before conducting full interviews with Richard and his wife, we went to the town hall to ask the officials and police why this happened.
Do we thank him for his service? Or do we beat him for it like this guy?
Yeah, I think
we stop talking, we sit down, we imagine I'm not here because you're digging yourself into a hole that you can't possibly climb out of.
I feel like you're putting words in my mouth. And
then put words in your own mouth.
You're not, you're not letting me answer.
Well, I'm not a marionette. I'll take my hand out of your You can speak for yourself. Go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
No, I think we're...
I should have kept my hand up that because it's not sounding too hot, my friend.
Yeah.
He didn't know enough about your situation. Did he swear an oath and go fight for you? It's interesting that he fought for strangers. I'm finding that no strangers want to fight for him. Do you know who these officers are?
I do.
What's the name of these?
Hold on.
No, they're.
Okay, that's a matter of opinion for you.
No, that's a matter of fact. They didn't do that to someone that wasn't armed. If they did it to me, I'd fight back. So they're. Do you know who filed a false police report?
There was no false police report.
Someone said we went into unauthorized areas. You're excused.
There was a phone call.
Yeah.
To the police chief.
Who said we went in unauthorized areas? That is my question. If you can't answer a question, how do you run a town?
Can I interrupt?
Of course, Brian.
Hold on. Because These two are talking. Go ahead, Josh. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
Ask her again.
He's my supervisor.
Ask her again.
Who made the call about us going into unauthorized areas? Someone called the police and said that because it's on their CAD.
Okay, I'm
Town offices called because First Amendment monitors were intruding in unauthorized secure areas.
She's not going to know who put it in.
So should we go ask
We don't know
everybody?
that for sure. I know that.
Do you know
She
who?
could have been standing next to the person. The person could have.
Are you aware of
We don't
anyone
know.
else
She
calling the
doesn't
police
know.
except
Sir,
you?
You're interfering with our investigation right now. We are questioning her, not you. Stop telling her what her answers are.
Is that obstruction?
Look, don't be disorderly. Please back up and let us interview her.
It's a citizen's
Go ahead. I'm
investigation. Thank you.
sorry. We need to cover all the bases, ma'am. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you do or say can and will be used against you on the internet. You have the right to a troll. If you cannot afford a troll, one will be appointed to you. Do you understand these rights? Thank you. Go ahead.
We went around the town hall and showed everybody that video. And no one made it through the whole thing. In fact, after just a few seconds, they either closed their eyes or turned their head in disgust. But not a one of them would stand up and fight for this honorable 13-year Marine Corps vet. The Concord Police Department did promise an external investigation, where they would hire a third-party company that was not a police department to investigate this issue for any officer misconduct or possible criminal or civil litigation issues. Despite the clip in the beginning of this video and the intro, we cannot put the whole video of Richard's altercation in that day, as it is far too graphic. But one thing's for certain and one lesson was learned. Don't ever call the police for help. This is their story. What's going on, guys? AFA here, and I'm with the folks from Guerrilla Publishing and James Freeman. We were tipped off from a story that was happening, and it was quite shocking. And I didn't believe really what was in the email because I didn't believe anything could be that bad. And then I started talking to these fine folks and watching the video, and what happened to them that day. It's not just discouraging, it's disgusting. It was an absolute abuse of power by the police, and they've been brave enough not just to stand up to these cops on a personal level, but to meet with us here today. So just kind of tell us your names for a second, where you're from.
My name is Rich, and I'm from Concord, Massachusetts.
Michelle from Concord.
And how long ago did this incident happen?
February 2nd.
See, she remembers. She's on point now. You are a huge behind-the-scenes hero in this. Now, Rich stood his ground, and he really fought for his rights, but you were the advocate that was there for him. And, we want to thank you for being brave enough to come forward today. What is the end result you'd like to see come from this?
Civil rights lawsuit.
Civil rights lawsuit. And have you met with an attorney yet?
We're in the process of that.
Good. Excellent. And this is emotional for you, and I'm sorry that you went through this. But just know that we don't sell any dreams, but we can offer at least the ability to hold some of these folks accountable. So thank you for meeting with us today. Take a deep breath. You guys are heroes as far as I'm concerned. So it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Today is Wednesday, March 20th, 6:44 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're sitting here with Michelle, and we're going to ask some questions about an incident that she experienced at the hands of police.
The incident with the police happened on February 2nd, 2024.
And where do you live?
We live in Concord, Massachusetts, on a farm that I work at.
And where did the incident occur?
In our apartment.
At the farm?
Yes.
Okay. Walk us through, if you would, what happened in your words.
So, in my words, what happened is we have a unique situation in that we live in this first floor of an apartment. It's a 2-family house that my landlord and boss own. Does that make sense? Like I both work for them and we live there. So we also have a basement that only we have access to. And in the basement is a boiler that controls the heat for both apartments. And on that day, my landlord boss had contacted me and said that wanted to know if we had any heat because the upstairs neighbors said they didn't have any heat. So the only way they could access the boiler to check it was through our basement, which we keep locked for obvious reasons, even though they would like us to keep it unlocked so they can come and go whenever they want, which is just not okay with us. So I was going back and forth with my landlord about getting in touch with Rich to find out if what the deal was with the house, if we had heat and whatnot. So the next thing that happens is a little time goes by, no more than an hour goes by, and my landlord is sort of being very persistent about wanting to get into the house like immediately. And I in the meantime, it's a little bit confusing, the story, but so while I'm texting this woman whose name is Jen, I'm also realizing that her husband, who also works on the farm, is banging on our front door and pounding on our front door. And so I'm texting Jen, like, the basement's open, you can access the basement, like, please stop banging on our door. And I mentioned, which they already know, that Rich has PTSD, and like, we really don't like people pounding on the door, we don't like people just showing up there. And somehow some communication got missed, and this cop's outside. So
Who was it that was banging on the door?
This was my landlord's husband. So the farm, I know it's a little confusing. The farm is owned by this very elderly couple, and their daughter is kind of like second in command. She really kind of runs it, and her husband also works there and does a lot of stuff at the farm and at the house, and so they're all sort of connected. So Jen's husband, Tim, is at the door, and Tim is the one that we believe from the police report is the one who called the police, because he said he heard us arguing, and that he heard Rich say to me to go back into the bedroom or something, and he heard us yelling and screaming, and he said in the police report that Rich was gurgling, which we don't know what that means. So I don't know if he called the police or if he told Jen to call the police, but regardless, there was police outside within an hour of Jen initially telling me, like, hey, they don't have heat upstairs, do you guys have heat, we need access. Within an hour, I see 3 cop cars outside, and this is at like 1:30 in the afternoon on Friday, February 2nd.
And what police department responded?
Concord, Mass.
Can you give me the police department that responded? Was Concord, Massachusetts?
Yes. The police that responded were Concord.
Start over again.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
The police
hey,
department.
look, there's not tape. Like it doesn't like it's not like the old things.
Yes.
That you real. I got plenty of memory cards. We're not going to.
The police department that responded was from Concord Police Department. Yeah.
And at the time that they responded, so let's take us from there. The police are at the door.
No.
Oh, let me ask you this. You said you have a copy of the police reports?
Yes.
And can you send that to us as well?
Yes.
You have it? Okay, great. Did we get that recording? Were we able to get that recording that you had, the 30-second recording you were talking about?
I don't think anyone has it, but I do have it.
Okay, we'll make sure we get
That's
it.
the one of them breaking into the house, the one.
Yeah, and I'll have you play. Do you have it where you can play it while we're doing this recording? So if you'll pull that up, because we've got the body mic on, and then we'll get the video and we can pull the better audio. But
she can just hold it up.
I just think one detail that you need to know is that in the midst of the police being called and showing up, Jen had texted. I was like, "Why are police outside?" And her response was, "They need you to come to the window and show your face and make sure that you're okay," which I did in our bedroom window. And it's even noted in the police report. One of the cops wrote, Mrs. Karkowski went to the window and then put the shade down. Okay, so
I'm sorry, but that's a really weird policy to me, because the way I was trained was like, if you go to a domestic, you don't want your presence to be known until you have as many of the facts as possible. So that to me, I'm sorry to interrupt. The only reason why that's weird to me is that you're going to show up and expect a woman that if God forbid, if she is in a domestic violence situation where the male is the aggressor, you want her to be able to come up to a window
and show that she's okay.
And show her face to a cop. And the guy that was just beating on her just lets her willy-nilly go to the window.
Have you requested the 911 tapes?
No.
Okay, well,
I have. I requested them the day I was released that day. I wrote a request. Then our attorney got in touch with us Monday, and he said there's no way in hell they're going to give you any video or any audio. He says, let me get that. So March 25th coming up is the discovery hearing, I believe. So I'm gonna know what he's able to get then, and I'm gonna ask him for copies of everything.
Okay, will you go ahead and text Sam and tell them and get them on this tomorrow?
My experience with my boss slash landlord is like a lot of times the information that she's giving is not accurate, and so
Do you think it's malicious?
No, I think it's ignorance. I think a lot of people, and myself included, didn't understand until I got in. Whatever, is that when you call the police, you better make sure someone's dying because you're about to ruin everybody's life that's involved in the situation, and that rights are being violated as landlord. Like they're farmers that own property that they are graciously allowing their employees to live in, but they don't see themselves as landlords, and they don't see us as tenants that have rights. And I think a lot of times that they see us as like, you know, they should be able to come and go and do what they need to do. And so the fact that she was relaying to me, like, the cop is saying you need to go to the window, you know, and then they should be leaving. And it's like the part when she's like, well, they should be leaving because now you did it. And I text her back, they're not leaving. There's more of them. And then I never hear from her again. Like that's been my experience with her, both as a boss and as a, you know, landlord, is like, you're not relaying information properly and people are going to get hurt. And they did, and he did.
Yeah, so take us back to that day. The police are at the door.
Yeah.
What happens next?
Well, that part for me is a little bit foggy because I was in the bedroom going to the window to see if, you know, like, what's going on with these police, and I'm trying to do what she's telling me to do. And then the next thing I know, there's a bunch of cops coming up the stairs from the basement that I've told them is open so that they can access the boiler, thinking the cops are gonna leave, but they didn't leave. They start coming up the stairs. I hear them. And then they're coming in the front door, which I didn't really see that until I saw Rich's video because I was in my bedroom.
Did either one of you give them consent to actually enter your property?
Absolutely, 100% no.
Can you say
You gotta say it right.
Yeah.
We did not.
We did not give them consent to enter our house at any time.
Did you make any calls for assistance or help?
I did not make any calls for assistance or help, nor did anyone that I was communicating with on my my landlord. She never asked me, is everything okay? Are you okay? Nor did her husband, when he came and pounded on the door, ask, is everything okay? Do you need help? Is he beating you? Like, there was no, so no.
Now, forgive me for asking this,
Yeah.
but I have to.
Yeah.
Is there some reason why that they would have reason to believe, based on prior history or anything, that there was a domestic abuse potential that's going on?
Yes, there's reason to believe that there was some domestic situation going on based on something that had happened years ago. Yes.
Okay. But what was there anything that happened that day that would have led anybody to believe that?
There is nothing that happened that day that would lead a normal person to believe that. No.
What do you think it is that caused the person to call the police and get them there that day? Them being upset about not getting into the boiler fast enough?
Correct. I think that's what it was. I think that they were pissed off that they couldn't get in there the minute they wanted to.
I have a question. You said prior to domestic dispute years ago
Yep.
with your husband?
Yes.
Do you think that the landlord used a domestic issue as a way to get the police to deal with the boiler issue faster? Do you think she weaponized that?
Do you think it was swatted?
I don't really know if we were swatted. I know that Rich believes that we were. I think that judging from the way Tim was pounding on our door, he was pissed that we weren't responding in the way that he wanted us to, and that he wanted access to the basement right away, and that we weren't doing that. I think there was some like malicious like intent of, you're not gonna respond fast enough, like we're gonna make you respond. I don't think it was, oh, we're so concerned about your safety, because I didn't get any, like I said, I didn't get any texts going back and forth that were asking if you were okay, is everything okay? Nor did I get any of that when Tim was pounding on the door. When he saw my face, and he didn't say, "Are you okay? Is everything okay?" They seemed like they had a problem that they perceived to be needing to be fixed right away. And I'll just say this, like, yes, it's a problem. It's the winter. We don't have heat, but it was also like 35 degrees and sunny at that time. At least one of the two gentlemen who lives upstairs was at work at the farm up the street from where we live and work. So it was not like this exigent circumstance, emergency, where they had to get in there right that second. And I'm telling you the truth that it was within 1 hour that I told her, the basement's unlocked, do what you need to do. Which the police interpreted as, oh, we can come in through the basement and be stormtroopers up the stairs.
How's your relationship with you and your landlord? Like your
well, hang on, we'll get there in a minute. Let's go through we're gonna get to the end and where the landlord relationship is in just a minute. But how did they get up the stairs? Like, so okay, the basement. I assume, does the basement have an entrance from outside, and then
Correct.
Once you're in the basement, you can get inside to your house?
Correct.
So the police would have. Explain to me how the police would have gotten into the basement and then gotten into the house. Explain that in your words, if you would.
So so we live next to a horse stable that's like connected to our house, and there's a door there, like a little alcove, and then there's the door to the basement. So if you know, you know. If you don't know, you don't know. So it's not like anyone would really know unless they were with people from the farm, and the police came in through the basement and started coming up the stairs. I'm pretty sure that they didn't enter the apartment that way. I think they were thinking they were maybe going to, but then they came in through the front door, the other group of them.
How did they get through the front door?
They broke the door down. They got into the front door. They got into the house by breaking down the front door. It was...
When they broke the door in, was there anyone screaming inside the house? Was there any reason for them to believe there was a clear and present danger?
No, there was no reason for them to believe that it was a clear and present danger. The only thing we were screaming, you can hear Rich screaming for them to get the fuck out, and
At a girl.
What's that?
At a girl.
And I'm yelling something similar in the background. I can't remember exactly what I'm yelling, but I think I'm yelling like, because they couldn't get in the basement within 5 minutes. Do you call the fucking police? I think that's what I hear myself saying.
Hey, so they've broken in through the front door.
They used a battering ram to get in. Oh my God. That's how they got in. I mean, is that, if you want the specifics?
Yeah,
like, that's how they got in. They busted the door down.
Paint with words. Paint us the picture. Go from them breaking in to what happens next. Give us the details of what happens.
Well, like I said, we have these 2 bedrooms in the back of the house. I'm in our bedroom, and there's like this hallway, and I'm coming out of the bedroom and see them already in. So I didn't really like see them busted in until I saw the video that Rich took. So it's hard for me to. He can probably give you more specifics about that because I didn't see it as much as I saw it on the video. There was.
But what did you experience next?
What I experienced next was that a bunch of cops coming down the hallway and trying to get Rich into the other bedroom to presumably arrest him for what I don't know, but that's what they came. I mean, they came in with their tasers drawn, so they came in ready to take him down and to make him submit and arrest him. And that what was happening for me was this officer, I started filming the officer. If you've seen the video, he's not allowing me to leave the bedroom to see what they're doing to him, which they're smashing his face into the floor. I mean, his blood's all over the floor when I get home from the police station. I have to clean up, the blood and whatever after I talk to the lawyer and took all the pictures of the house and everything like that. But I can hear them. They're trying to, get him. They're trying to put handcuffs on him, and they're tasing him. And I can hear it, and this cop won't let me out of the room, and I keep saying to him, there's no reason for you to be here. There's nothing, nobody did anything illegal. Why are you here? Get the fuck out of our house. And then, you know, I can, then there's at various points they're shutting the door so that I can't get in there. I can't hear what's going on. So I know I'm not being super clear. So
that's great. No, that's great. I will.
And I know how it is. It's tough sometimes because it's like
there's a lot of things happening out at the same time.
You're trying to get it all lined up in your mind and your emotions.
Don't worry. I promise. The story. We don't have to. This is not a criminal court where I need you to have out every detail. I'm trying to convey. I need the audience to understand the story, so they understand where you are, where he is. So. Yeah. How far away would you say the bedroom where the officer was holding you is from the area where Rich was getting assaulted by the police?
It's like a bedroom right across, like right there.
So just across the threshold of the hallway.
Absolutely. And what were you? Yeah. What was going through your mind while all of this is going on?
I was just horrified, and I felt powerless because this police officer was not. He was trying to have this conversation with me, and I was like, I don't want to talk to you. I'm not gonna start answering your questions. You need to stop what you're doing. You need to stop assaulting Rich. You know, Rich is a Marine, and he definitely could have caused a lot of damage to these guys if he wanted to. And I don't say that to, he'll say I'm not a tough guy, but he has a different type of training and has a different type of mindset than most people, being a Marine. And I knew he was going to be okay whatever they did to him, but the fact that I couldn't do anything was just that powerless feeling of why are you doing this? Why? And the only thing that was going through my mind was I just wanted it to stop. I just wanted them to get out because I just knew it wasn't going to end well, because people call the police and someone's getting arrested. That's been my experience.
Or hurt or killed.
So what?
Or hurt or killed, right?
So what happens? What happens next? You've come out of the room.
No,
Rich is in handcuffs.
No,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
haven't come out of the room because this officer won't let me out of the room. So what happens is, they finally somehow, after they smash his face onto the floor and break his nose and give him a concussion and do all kinds of other damage to him physically. And they're shutting the door I'm assuming to put handcuffs on him to get him to get out of the house. So I'm still screaming like a banshee because this cop won't let me leave my bedroom, and I start to kind of push him a little, and he's yelling at me, "Don't push me!" And I'm like, "What are you gonna do? Arrest me too? What? Why can't I get out of my own house? Why can't I get out of my room?" And the next thing that happens is, Rich, the door opens and Rich is going by me in the hallway. You could see in my video that he's going by me with his hands behind his back, and he's advising me not to answer their questions, and which I wasn't anyway, but it was a good reminder. So they were escorting him out and still would not allow me to get out. Now they're in the bedroom doing some shit. I don't know what they're doing. They're shutting the door, they're opening the door, they're fiddling around, and so then I start, I kind of ask, why are you still here? And they mentioned something about, is the ambulance here? So then I start losing my mind, why do you have an ambulance? Why is there an ambulance here? But when you get tased, I don't know if this is universally, but usually you get tased, they take you to the emergency room to get the taser out, which Rich pulled out on his own. So he didn't even, the taser had no effect on him at all. And so they really didn't know what to do after that. After they played with all their toys, they really didn't know what to do, so they just...
Let's rewind for a quick second. There's a portion in the video where you can be seen saying, "Did you just tase him again?"
Yeah.
How many times were they tasing him?
They tased him that I know of twice. Yes. Yeah.
So, do you have that video, right?
I do. And
Could you show us the video that you have? Would you kind of pull it up and show it to the camera and let us see it, and then kind of walk us through what's going on just before, play the video, explain anything you want to.
The video that I took.
Yes,
okay.
The video that you took.
Okay. How do you want me to?
Don't worry, I'll interweave it with we'll put it up bigger on the screen and stuff, but this will be you showing the video here, and we'll cut it in that way.
All right. I'm just calling it up right now. Let me just find it. There's our house being trashed. Okay. I think this is okay. All right. So what am I doing? I'm sorry.
Explain what the video is that you have.
So
You have no reason to
so the
be in
video
this
that
house
I
right
have
now.
is
There's no reason for you to be here.
I'm in the bedroom and I can see that there's another.
Real quick, what? I don't what?
Do I just keep playing it and talking over it?
No,
I'm sorry, I
no.
gotta
Go
look
ahead.
it
Go
up.
ahead and explain what the video is. Then we'll.
Okay.
Then what I want you to do is.
Sorry.
I want you to make it big, turn it around, and start playing it
Okay,
for
sorry.
us.
I don't.
Let's wait to the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but just go ahead. Just go ahead and explain this to what the videos you have.
Okay, so this video I have is of me in the bedroom filming this cop that's not allowing me to leave the bedroom and is trying to like reason with me about why they're there. And I can see a little bit of what's happening in the other across the hall with the other cops, but I can't see into the bedroom where Rich is being tackled.
Why did you start filming?
Because
I started filming because
Rich told me to, and also because we have been watching a lot of these videos for a long time now, and so I knew like enough to do it, but he said start filming, and I did.
Okay, will you show us the video, please?
Sure. So I just turning around?
Yeah, just turn it around.
You have no reason to be in this house right now. There's no reason for you to be here.
As I've stated before, the video of the attack on Richard at the hands of the Concord police is far too graphic to show on YouTube, so we'll pick up at the closing of that video.
I'm not taking orders from you. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Because they could have waited 20 minutes.
Michelle, call the attorney.
And what do you want me to say, dear?
Tell them exactly what happened.
That's it.
That end line right there is gold. And tell them what exactly what happened. The truth shall set you free. Now, what? So after that, you go to the police station.
No, after that I go to Emerson Hospital in Concord, which is where they took him because he had been tased.
And what happens from there?
What happens from there is I am in the waiting room and asking to see him, and they will not allow me to see him because he's been arrested and he's being detained, so they won't let me in there.
Did they tell you what he'd been arrested for?
No.
So what happens next?
So what happens next is I have a meltdown in the waiting room because this, I don't know, nurse or a person that was working in the emergency
You're killing
room.
the Smalls.
She said, you can't go in there because the officers are with him because he was arrested, and that waiting room's full of people. So I was like, oh, thanks for like, now everybody knows. And so, anyway, it was just kind of like, thanks guys for just,
Put my business on
letting
blast.
people have a little privacy. So the next thing that happens is I'm sitting in the waiting room like an asshole, kind of like trying to figure out what's going to happen. And then you have to like buzz this door, you can't just walk in there. So I buzz the door and this girl, she comes again. I go, what's going on with my husband? Can you tell me? Oh, he went to the Concord Police Station. And I said, do you think someone should have told me that? Because I've been sitting out here waiting to get in there to see him. So now he's at the Concord Police Station. So I go to the police station, and then I have a great video, which, if you want me to show you, I will. But I go to the Concord Police Station because I'm pretty much following him all around Concord trying to figure out where he is. And now he's at the police station, and I have this sit down with a police officer and I think another officer that she's training or something. And all I want to know is what has he been arrested for? What's going to happen next? Like, can I post bail for him? Like, what is going on? And she thinks that she's going to start interviewing me. And I pretty much don't answer any of her questions other than the one question she keeps asking, which is, did he hurt you? Did he hit you? Was there this? Was it? And then she goes on to give me like 22 reasons why he was arrested, none of which, by the way, were anything he was charged with. So she's just pulling shit out of her ass, making up all these reasons. Oh, he got arrested because he hit you. Same, you know, he got arrested because they needed to get in to check the heat, and your neighbor, that she's saying that our neighbors didn't have heat for a week, which that's not true. And that she's saying, oh, that they tried to get in there yesterday to check the heat, and they weren't allowed in. I said nobody contacted me about oh no, they contacted Richard. So she knew all that. So none of that was true. So she's just, I know, shocking, making up all these lies about what's happening. And then all I really want from her is to tell me why has he been arrested, which she hasn't given me any accurate anything yet, because the reasons he was on it, the three things that were on the bail form were assault and battery on a police officer, intimidating a witness. I don't know if that was me or one of the cops. I don't know who that witness was. And the other charge was resisting arrest, of course, the standby. Yeah, of course you're not going to resist arrest when they break your door down and tase you, right? You're going to just take it. So those are the three charges. None of those were the ones that she told me. And so I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen. And she tells me that he's going to go to Bill Ricca for the weekend so that everyone's safe. And I said, yeah.
What is Bill Ricca?
Bill Ricca is it's a jail in Middlesex County it's a pretrial detention. It's not, usually people go there when they are awaiting the next thing. They're not necessarily charged with anything or sentenced with anything yet, but they're just being held pre-trial. And so the fact that he's going to go there for the weekend, like it's a hotel, I'm like, no, he's not going to Bill Ricca for the weekend, because everybody was safe before you people came to our house. So anyway, that's what Bill Ricca was, which he didn't end up going. And then after I realized that might happen, I spoke to the lawyer we have again and said, this is the next piece of information that I have, which is that this cop is telling me he's going to go to Bill Ricca, blah, blah, blah. Then, I don't know, probably an hour later, I get a call from him and from the Concord jail saying, come with money and bail me out. And I did. And
how much did it cost to bail him out?
$340.
Would you give me it cost $340?
It cost me $340 to bail him out.
What did you bail him out for?
I bailed him out for the three charges that were on the sheet, which were assault and battery on a police officer, resisting arrest, and intimidating a witness.
What's your relationship been with the farm where you work since this happened?
Guerrilla Publishing asks a great question, and since the filming of this interview, there's been an update on their tenancy. This is an eviction notice. Notice is given hereby that your tenancy at will of the above premises is terminated by giving you 30 days written notice thereof in accordance with the permissions of GL Chapter 186, Section 12. Accordingly, you must vacate the premises on or before May 15, 2024. The foregoing notice does not relieve you of your obligation to pay the monthly rent during the period of time you vacate the premises, or we shall take due process to eject you. That's right, folks, this is real life. Landlord makes a mistake, calls the police. The result of that wellness check ends in a false arrest and a man being hospitalized with a concussion and several broken bones. That victim being a 13-year Marine Corps veteran who served his country honorably. And the moment they tell their story and their truth, the landlord just doesn't like looking bad around town. So after all that, they finally decide to evict them.
It's really I don't know that you're gonna believe this when I tell you this, but February 2nd was Friday, Groundhog Day, when all this happened. So February 3rd, February 4th were the weekend, and February 5th, my boss, landlord, who I'd been texting with that day about the heat and everything, who presumably the one who called the police, she calls me and wants to meet with me. So I'm like, well, this should be interesting. So I go to my workplace, which is literally 1 minute down the street from where we live, and has another person there who does work at the farm also, and she tells me that it's not working out with you guys living up there. So her next shot across the bow is that she wants us to, move out. And she says, yeah, we need to be able to access the heat and the boiler and all. The whole meeting is like 1 minute because I refuse to say anything. I think the only question I asked was about my job, and she was like, well, I mean, I'd love for you to keep working here because, I love having you here to work. So it's kind of a unique, sticky situation in that, like, I would like to not be there, working there or living there, but things have to be done and, finding a new place to live and then whatever. Anyway.
It's expensive to move.
And also, it's not, what people don't understand when they call police is that once the police get involved in your life, now you have charges, which is a background check. Now you have, by the way, injured somebody, with a concussion and damage to his elbow, damage to his wrist, stuff from the tasers, like headaches from this concussion, broken nose, like people can't work, so that affects.
How has this impacted Rich?
How has it impacted Rich?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been, he's living with this. I can't say like how he feels having his rights violated that way. I know it's very it's affected him in the sense physically, having these chronic headaches all the time, and depression and PTSD, and of course we're both like walking on eggshells because we don't want to be there, and they don't want us there, and we're there, and basically my relationship with my anyway, I don't want to go there right now, but so how it's affecting him is I think it's been very I think having you guys involved is the only is really the only hopeful thing about it. It's like other than that, it's sort of a feeling of like now you have to deal with charges and you have to deal with lawyers and you have to deal with court and you have to deal with all the shit that like because you thought something was happening and you called the police kind of willy-nilly, you've ruined like this man's life.
For the people who are watching this and that might be wondering this, given the history, can you give them 100% assurance that there wasn't something going on here that justified your landlord calling?
There was nothing going on that justified my landlord calling the police. There was nothing happening between me and Rich that justified them calling the police. They were just pissed off, I believe, because they couldn't get into the house. And even if there were some concern about my safety, none of that was expressed by anybody involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody asked, nothing.
Nobody shot you a text message like, hey, is everything cool? Like, are you okay?
No, and both Tim and Jen have my phone. I was texting Jen to tell her, please stop please call these pigs off. Please stop banging on our door. The basement is open for you.
Could you send us those screenshots of those texts? Those are going to be very important. Have you saved those and sent those to your lawyer too?
Yes.
Okay, great. So for all those documents that your lawyer was really interested in,
Yep.
I'm interested in as well.
Yep.
The text messages, the screenshots of all that stuff, where you got called in for the meeting, all of that stuff. Because quite frankly, and I don't know if your boss already suggested it, but you should probably file a complaint with the Department of Labor sooner rather than later.
Well, this is the thing. I've been trying to find, no attorney will touch this. And what I'm looking for is a tenant-landlord attorney, because this situation happened because they made a false claim. They violated our rights.
Oh no, I think you need I think the business is potentially, you got a lot of potential claims here, and we can look at trying to find you somebody over there, but send me all the documentation that you have, and I'm happy to try to, as we put this together, trying to find a lawyer that would help prosecute the case for you with regards to
I'll
this.
hook you up with my guy.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll hook you up with my guy.
There you
He's
go.
local. He's in.
It's not because look, they didn't have a warrant. They didn't come in under exigent circumstances.
My criminal lawyer is already, he said.
Yeah, that's your criminal lawyer. These other things are 1983 violations, so they're civil rights violations.
Right.
So, is there anything else that you think that we need to know about this that we haven't already kind of gone over? What have I missed?
I think that I don't think you've missed anything. I think that just
Tell him how it's affected you, because you've changed, and you know you have.
I think people make mistakes in life, and like we haven't had Rich and I haven't had the easiest time in our marriage, but that's between us, and for the past few years we have been, I mean, there's been no like issues. We've lived in at the farm for a little over 2 years, and the first year, yes, there was some stuff happened, but that doesn't like just the fact that some things have happened that were negative, that they think they know what happened, but they don't know all the details. They have made this picture of us, like the police report is littered with, if you've read it, I know Josh has read it, like it's littered with this couple has a history of domestic violence and mental health issues. So the fact that you already, like, I hate to use this expression, known to the police, but like it's a small podunk town. It's a little town. It's like people are calling the police in Concord because there's a squirrel in their chimney. Do you know what I mean? Like something like this is why they send 14 cops with tasers drawn and claiming it's a wellness check, because nothing happens in this town. And so I think that just because we have this known to police, this history of whatever, they are exaggerating, like there's no recognition of the fact, like they have no idea what's happening between us and how hard we've worked to try to stay together and make our marriage work, and that I've had to go to counseling because now both of us have PTSD because I can't, I hear a noise outside, I don't trust these people, like I'm afraid if I don't do whatever they're gonna call the police again, like they're not gonna hesitate to do that again. So I mean, I just feel like I don't know if that's really an answer to your question, but
Let me ask you a question. They said in the video, I think almost 12 times in the first video and about 6 times in the second video, that they were going to make everybody safe. How much safer do you feel now after being serviced by the Concord PD?
I feel exponentially less safe than I've ever felt in my life. In a place where I feel exponentially less safe than I've ever felt in my life. And I just feel like I need to tell you this one little piece that's not directly related to this incident, if that's okay. So these people that I work for, who we rent this apartment from, have been in the town for a long time, and we felt very safe there. We never locked our doors. We never locked our car. And what happened was, I work overnight, and so I sleep during the day. And one day we woke up, and there was someone in our apartment, and it was a guy from this podunk town oil company. He was in our apartment. He had gone downstairs to the basement to do something with the boiler, something with the heat, whatever. And we woke up to somebody in the house, okay, which Rich did not respond well to, nor would most men respond well to that, I don't think. So he got very upset, and the person who he was yelling at to get the fuck out of our house called my landlord. You understand? You follow the story? Okay. So she of course calls me, and is trying to assess the situation. And so, long story short, I go to work that night, and both she and her husband are at where I work, and I have a conversation with them, and I said, and they're trying to be like, you know, trying to paint this picture like Rich has this temper, and like I said, no. I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, Rich has PTSD, and you need to let us know if someone's going to be coming into the house to do any kind of work or anything. And they start giving us all these excuses, okay? One is, well, this is life on the farm, and it's not the city, okay? The next thing is, well, we've known these people all our lives, and so, and then the next thing is like, some other, you know, just excuse after excuse, and I say, that's, none of that's okay. Oh, he didn't know anyone was even living there. Okay, what I don't understand how you, so you don't think anybody's living in a house that you need to check the heat on, and you just walk in? Like, who does that? But the point I'm trying to make is, we felt very safe there. We never locked our doors. We never locked our car. We walked around, nothing, no problems, never. And then the reason we felt less safe was because they allowed someone to come in there without our, and this has been a chronic issue with these people of like, you guys are landlords. I know you don't want to be landlords, you just want to be farmers, but you're landlords. And we have rights as citizens of the United States, and we also have rights as tenants. And you violated them. And now they violated them even more so, which is why we want to take action, because we don't feel safe there at all. We're like sitting ducks there.
Can you tell us your name?
My name is Richard Kotkowski.
How old are you?
I am about to be 55 years old. 54.
And which town do you currently reside?
I currently live in Concord, Massachusetts.
And what was your job before where you're at now?
I've done warehousing, a lot of warehousing.
Any military background?
I have a military background. I was a Marine for 13 years and active duty Army National Guard for 3.
Thank you for your service.
No problem.
So do you have an understanding of the United States Constitution?
Absolutely.
And
I have an understanding because once I signed up, I put my right hand in the air and they said, you take an oath to the Constitution and the orders of the officers appointed above you. The very first thing I did when I left that day was actually read the Constitution.
And would you say before the incident you're about to explain to us that you were pro-law enforcement? What was your feelings?
I was 100% pro-law enforcement. As a Marine recruiter for 10 years, I put a lot of Marines' sons and daughters into the Marine Corps and state troopers from Massachusetts cops, 5 of them actually.
And can you start to tell me how you reached out to me? I got an email from you, and what led to that?
I reached out to Josh because an incident happened on February 2nd, 2024, where I really don't understand the whole genesis of it other than a text not being answered in a timely, according to our landlord, manner. And it ended up in a warrantless entry into my home by the Concord Police Department.
So when the police came to your door, what was your understanding as to the reason they were there?
My understanding of why they were there is I don't care why they were there. They were not requested to be there, and they started yelling and screaming at me, which elevated and escalated the situation.
And explain to us what followed.
What followed was chaotic. My wife had been trying to reach our landlord who needed to get into our basement. We were trying in the process of making that happen, and people started pounding on the door, and it was the Concord Police Department saying that they were there for a wellness check. From what I understood, a wellness check is consensual. And if that was a true reason they were there, which they stated, I said, I don't consent, nor does my wife, and we'd like you to leave. And they didn't. And they gathered their forces, and ultimately it led to breaching my door with a battering ram and attacking me.
So were there any exigent circumstances that would have led the police to believe they needed to gain entry to your home without consent?
There was absolutely zero exigent circumstances that would lead them to believe that anything was going on inside my house that was illegal.
And you say that they... Go ahead.
And you clearly told them, like, hey, I don't want you coming in my home, you don't have my consent.
Yes, I was very clear with them in a very
Loud.
loud and sometimes vulgar way of, you're not coming in my house, because I had done nothing wrong.
Now, when they breached the door, were their weapons drawn? Explain to us what that looked like.
When they tried to come in first, when my wife gave the okay for the landlord to go into the basement to fix the burner that needed to be fixed. At that time, they had one team moving up the stairs. They decided not to breach the door for their own safety reasons. Then, as soon as they were screaming from the hallway, which was right on my immediate right, I saw the door break open. First two police through came with tasers drawn, pointed at me, and the third one had a handgun pointed at me.
He had a service weapon drawn?
He did.
Now, what did they say to you once they break through the door and they're drawing down on you?
They said absolutely nothing. They came right at me and grabbed my wrist. They said nothing to me at all and tried to arrest me. I asked them what they were trying to arrest me for, and they didn't give me any answer. They just started to put hands on me.
And what was your wife's emotional state as this, pandemonium is going on?
My wife at the time, to her credit, I send her the clips. She understands what the auditing is about and why it is. And for that day, although chaos was breaking out and I was the target of it, she was very calm. And she began to videotape. And then when she saw the things that she realized were not right, were illegal, or shouldn't be done, or was basically excessive force, she started screaming. And they had originally said that there was something going on with her, that she was under attack, and that was not true. And they clearly saw that she was 100% okay.
So once they come in and they grab your wrist, walk us through what happens step by step from that point.
Okay, they come in. The very first thing the officer did was slap my phone out of my hand so I could not be recording him. Then he grabbed my left wrist and tried to spin me. Actually, they tried to take me down. They spun me around, and I ended up somehow, I don't remember, I ended up on the ground. So when they grabbed me by the wrist, they tried turning me around. I resisted, and the next thing I knew, I had 2 taser barbs in my chest, which I promptly pulled out. The cop didn't know what to do. He got scared, and then I got dropped somehow. I don't remember, but the police report says he punched me in the nose. That I know that did not happen.
Did you really resist, though, or were you just like defending your property against people that were unwelcome and unwarranted in your home?
I resisted an unlawful arrest by intruders in my home.
So where's your mind at this point? You're on the ground, you just got tased, there's no explanation. What's your headspace like?
Josh, I'm going to be completely honest. It was all I could do to not hurt the officers. I'm not a tough guy, but I knew with that third one with a gun, he would have had no problem killing me. And I did not want my wife to witness that. So I did, to my own ability, resist as much as I could to let them know that they were committing something illegal as I was screaming that at them. And then finally they got me into submission after the second tase, which also had no effect.
So tell us what happened once the taser barbs hit you the second time. Was there any conversation you had with the officers?
None. They never yelled taser, 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 and I believe there was a cop on top of me at the same time because I got tased in my left side while I was down on the ground. And as I'm on the ground, another officer had his hand underneath, like going from my neck, while he's pushing my head into the floor. He broke my nose, and my head, I just remember my head kept hitting the floor, and I got concussed. When he reached in with his left hand, I bit down on his arm through his uniform. There was no skin broken or anything, but I honestly believe he was trying to break my neck.
Now, this is all happening, and your wife's in the next room. Obviously, these officers are violent. At any point, are you thinking, what's happening to my wife?
Yes,
is she okay?
That's why I was resisting it. I was resisting because I was afraid what they were going to do to her next. And they were the only ones that were the witnesses, and I have seen enough things to know that stuff goes missing. So I, as a man in my own apartment, to not be in control of what's going on, especially to the woman I'm married to, or to protect her. And as a Marine, it was degrading.
What'd you do in the Marines?
I had several in my service in the Marine Corps. I made the rank of staff sergeant fairly quickly in under 5 years because I volunteered to go to as many schools as I could. I ultimately settled on being a recruiter for more than 10 years. I was very successful at that. I put 200 guys in the Marine Corps. I made their lives better, and I consider that a success because they've moved on and done better than I have, and that's all I asked of them.
Now, I'm sitting here talking to you, and when you reflect on your service, you reflect with a lot of emotion. Obviously, you took your service very seriously. You fought to keep others safe, and you tried to provide the best environment to Marines that were going to come after you. Knowing that service that you levied for your community, you think on so fondly, how does it make you feel to know that police officers in your community are doing what they're doing to you?
As far as my service goes and how I feel about that, I take the Constitution serious. I have a long, drawn-out history of working with the police, working with kids. Even if I couldn't make them a Marine, I kept them out of trouble. I got them to get a diploma instead of a GED. I believed in what I did. I do not believe that the police in America today can be this way. And I fault it a lot because I don't think there's not one veteran on that force in Concord, Massachusetts that has any idea what being in the service is about. They tend to pride themselves on being in the danger zone every day and how they put their life on the line. Well, I signed a check up to and including, a blank check up to and including life, wherever I may go in any part of the country to defend anyone in this country and the way we run our lives. And to see that they cannot take that into consideration when they're dealing with veterans, and they actually come in twice as hard because they know we're not intimidated by them, is disgusting.
So you've been tased twice, you've been punched in the nose, you're concerned for your safety and your wife's, and then we see a part in the video where you're walking out of the room and your face is just mangled. You see your wife for the first time and she kind of breaks. There's like an unspoken communication that happens between you two that really drew me into the video. What were you thinking in that moment?
It slipped back to training. She's my wife, and I could only yell at her to protect herself. And at the same time, make sure there was a record of this that happens so that it doesn't continue to happen. And that's why I reached out to you, because you were personable, and I felt that you would take it serious. And you did, because here I am.
Now, you've been tased, manhandled, degraded, humiliated, and for all intents and purposes beaten. And your first inkling is to be concerned for somebody else's safety. And you folks can't see at home, we have another veteran behind the camera here. I've had personal instances where someone tried to harm me, and just even getting close to me, it was everything he could do not to protect them. I see a lot of the same from you, and I'm sorry that this has happened to you, and I can see the pain in your face. It's sad to say that this is how you were treated after all you've done for this country, and for what you did for your wife that day. I truly believe that if not for your resisting, more harm would have come to her, which kind of leads us to you now being removed from the house. So explain to us what happens next.
I was after all this chaos had erupted, I was led to an ambulance because I had to go to the emergency room to be cleared so that I could go to the police department and be booked. So I'm in the hospital and I keep asking the doctor, you have to keep in mind, the doctor knows why I'm there. And as far as the doctor knows, I did brutally assault my wife, which was what the claim originally was. So he didn't give two shits about who I was or what I was doing. So he just looked in my eyes, looked in my ears, and cleared me, and basically got me out of there.
Let me ask you a question. I know everyone's wondering it at home. That day, did you assault your wife, Rich?
February 2nd, no, I did not assault my wife. There's no intent. We were actually just living our lives when we got a text saying that the landlord had to get in the basement.
So now, because of the police and their false admission about what had happened, do you believe you received less than capable medical treatment?
Well, yes. As far as the hospital went, when the doctor had that attitude with me, he cleared me, but he didn't do a complete check like he should have. I told him I had a headache. My head was hurting, my eyes were hurting, my nose. I kept asking if my nose was broken. He wouldn't listen, and my left hand was numb. And he just wrote 2 things on the report and never even checked for a concussion. So about 2 weeks ago, I went to an urgent care to see if I could get the current symptoms evaluated, but they refused to see me and sent me to an emergency room because they thought I had a brain bleed from the description of what I was giving them. So I went to an emergency room. I got a CAT scan done, and x-rays on my elbows because they had deep tissue damage to them and they still hurt today, and my wrist to see if there was anything broken. From what I understand, there's just a trauma there that's stopping me from feeling my first index finger and my thumb on my left hand. But the doctor did not do his due diligence in the emergency room to make sure that it was cleared before I was really cleared to go to get booked.
Now take us from the emergency room to the jail and what happens next.
Well, they took me out of the hospital on foot. I got into the back of a cruiser. They actually, one of the police, I kept complaining that my hand was numb, so he did loosen up the handcuff, kept him behind my back, and I get to the police department and they want to book me. And I asked for an attorney. I don't know how this whole system works because this does not happen to me. And I didn't get one. I got stuck in the holding tank for a couple hours until I, quote, cooled down, and then another sergeant came in, and I just wanted to get the hell out of there, so I let them do what they had to do. They read me my rights. They said the 3 charges, it had nothing to do with them coming into my home. But they had everything to do with standing up to somebody who wanted to cause me harm. And shortly after that, they let me make a phone call, and my wife came to bail me out.
Now, where did your wife pick you up? Did you meet her in the lobby of the PD? Was she waiting in the parking lot?
Yes, she was in the lobby. They brought me up from the downstairs into the lobby of the police department.
So when the door opens, and you've been through what you've been through, and everyone's had a long day, and you see your wife for the first time since you were assaulted in your home by the police, what's the first thought that goes through your mind?
I asked her if she was okay when they let me go, when I saw her for the first time.
Seems like every time you're abused, the first thing you do is ask somebody else if they're okay.
That's training. As a Marine, that's what we're trained to do. I put my stuff off until everybody else is okay.
So let me ask you right now, are you okay? How are you doing?
I hate to say this, Josh, but right now, the reason why I reached out to you is I was about to break. And then when I I got a response back from you, I felt like I had picked up my radio, called for support, and it was coming. And usually in my job, I call for the support. Marines aren't used to, we're used to fighting alone. We know we're surrounded by the enemy, that's a good thing, but not in our own hometowns, not in our apartments. And I thank God every day that you gave a positive response to me and you took this up. Because nobody, like I told you when I first called, I don't believe what I'm telling you, but I lived it. And if I were to tell it to somebody else, they would think I was crazy. And I'm not crazy, but I'm about done with dealing with police that are shoot first and ask questions later. That's not what my Constitution says.
Now, we hear the officers several times in the video refer to their safety and making sure that you're complying, and the reason they did to you what they did was because of their safety. And you were the victim and you were never once concerned with your own safety. Do you feel like these police officers, do you feel like they were trained properly? I guess the point I'm getting at is you're a citizen and you're in there worried about everyone else's safety. They're armed to the teeth and they're beating the hell out of you and they're still worried about their safety. Do you think that there's a problem there?
I do think there's a problem there, and I think their training that they get is to protect themselves and their system, not to protect the individual citizen. You know very well the Supreme Court. This is something that, since I talked to you the first time, I've been rattling around in my brain that the Supreme Court says the police are under no obligation to assist or help anybody in any way, shape, or form. If they had to break down the door to assist to make sure my wife was okay, why was she so special? Why am I such a target if that's not their business? If they're trained, they're told that they don't have to do that. But I think they're trained to protect the system, and that's what they do. That's why qualified immunity exists. They could have taken me out and never paid a price for it. And to be on that hill, I had decisions to make, and we're trained to make the decision in a split second. The better thing for me to do was not to attack the officers and to make sure my wife was going to get out of there alive. It was all I could do to resisting.
Now, you've told us a little bit where you're at, and earlier when Ron was asking your wife some questions, you said that she's changed. How has she changed in your eyes since this has happened?
This is going to sound silly, but when I met her, the day I met her, I looked into her eyes and all my past went away, and I felt like God was giving me that little kick in the ass, moving me forward. So I had no hesitation. I just told her who I was, and I said, I'd like to go out with you sometime. And at that time, she was the most beautiful woman on the earth to me. And we've had some troubles with her really trying to comprehend what that meant, because nobody had felt that way about her. But after this event, we're of one mind now. And she was a trooper for me when she picked up the phone and recorded. She didn't ask questions, she didn't fight. She just picked up the phone and did what she had to do, and did it very well in my eyes, because there's a lot of information on there that will blow people's minds. And she took it to the hoop, and she did not stop. And she chased after me from the hospital to the police department. There was no way that she was in any, if there was anything between us, that would not happen.
Now, you're a veteran, and you gave up a lot for this country.
I did.
And you did for your community.
I did.
So that people like myself could enjoy more time with theirs. Do you feel like in this situation, you've been paid back for that service?
It's humbling to say this, but I despise my service because I was trained, unlike the police department, I was trained to follow legal orders and to deny illegal orders. The police don't do that. They make up their own laws and they do what they want to do, and that's not what I served for.
Do you have any faith left in the police system?
0.0 faith in the police system anywhere and everywhere.
Now, how do you move on from here? How do you move forward emotionally?
My wife and I lean on each other very well. It's a godsend to have that. But moving on also involves sitting here in front of the camera telling people things that are very deeply important to me. But I know there's other people that are going through this, and I want my story to get out, just like I put the story out about the Marine Corps, where it wasn't for everybody. But if you put your mind to it, you can do anything you want. So I'm using that kind of advice right now to myself to put that story out there and let other people see it. So if this happens to them, they know there's somebody they can call who's going to take action.
Now, unfortunately, we've kind of spoken this before. You said it happened to me, and if I can at least make sure it doesn't happen to somebody else, then there's some sort of a victory there. There's somebody watching this right now that's been abused by the police. Their wife's been abused by the police. They're in the same boat that you're in, and they might not be as brave as you or as Michelle, and they might be thinking that it's too much of an uphill battle to be worth fighting, and they're looking at you right now through the camera. What's your advice to them?
Josh, my advice to somebody in this situation is to do exactly what I did. Reach out. Let somebody know what happened. They will listen to you and guide you. There's other people that need to see this. They can't have fear of the unknown. I felt like it was an uphill battle. Even if it was an uphill battle and I was going to lose it, it was something that had to be exposed. And now as a matter of fact, Josh, I have this conversation with my wife all the time that we're on a mountain right now. We got to get to the top. There's going to be a lot of stuff in between before we can get to that peak, but we're getting there. By hook or by crook, we're going to get there, and we're going to get this message out, because people, first, what the landlord did is completely wrong. We have tenants' rights that they just don't believe we have right to privacy, which is another issue. But police should not treat anyone as a criminal first and suspect everyone of everything. And that's a message I would like to get to the police if they were ever to see this.
I think it's fairly certain that all the police in that department, they're going to see it. And I think it's important that I really respect the police, and I think life is about fairness. So if there's any that haven't seen it, I'm going to set up shop in Concord PD's lobby, and I'm going to show it to every police officer that walks through the door, and I'm going to show it to every citizen that walks through the door. In this situation, the police responded for a wellness check. And when they showed up, what symptoms did you have? Did you have any ailments at that time?
None, other than when they showed up, I had no,
You're in
there was
good
no
health?
symptoms. I was in good health. Everything was fine. I was living my life with my wife. We didn't even know they were out there until they started pounding on the door.
So the police showed up for a wellness check. You were in good health, had no symptoms, no ailments. And after the police so graciously showed up to check on your wellness, did you have any ailments then?
Oh yeah, they abused me pretty well.
Okay. What injuries did you have?
I had a concussion, broken nose, loss of feeling in my entire left hand. I still can't feel my index finger or my thumb. Deep tissue wounds to my elbows and my knees.
So, like I told Michelle, I'm going to set you up with my criminal attorney and my civil litigation attorney. He said to me over and over, and there was a message, and it was all I could do not to tear up when I was reading it, and it was this long emotional message about you were thanking me and you appreciated it, and I had to stop myself for a second and kind of face reality. It's not you that should be thanking me or Josh or James or Ron. Less people are going to be abused because of your actions. You took off one uniform, but you're still protecting people. It's not you that should be thanking us for being here for you today. It's us that owe you a debt of gratitude, not on just behalf of us, but on behalf of a grateful nation that still thanks you for your service. I mean, hell of a job, man.
I appreciate that, but the flip side of that is without you, nobody would hear this, and that you took it serious. It's just very difficult to reach out to help. I know that because I'm Marine. We do our things on our own. We can survive in that environment, but this environment, no way. This is a hostile environment in a local town where I live, and I didn't fight for this. I didn't sign up for this. I appreciate the quotes on the service, but they used to be my identity. That's not my identity anymore. And I got into this about a week ago when we were going back and forth, and you were sending some stuff, and I said, I was that warrior, but I took that off, and now, like, when I did that, I got abused. And I first went right back to, well, you can never drop that warrior status. You always got to be always ready for somebody to do something. And I just can't believe that the police would, knowing I'm a veteran, knowing that I am, break into the door and do that without probable cause, without anything going on, without me even hearing me yelling. There was claims made that were not true.
We saw that in the police report. It seems that what was written in the arrest affidavits and the probable cause affidavits was actually completely different. Each officer writing their perspective, none of it was the same. And it makes sense that the only thing that has stayed true, and God bless her, was Michelle's camera footage that day. It's how does it feel to be watching that? Because I'm not married to her, and I'm sitting and watching that footage, and James Freeman says she's a badass, she's awesome. How did it make you feel to watch her defending you?
Thank you for confirming that, because I've been trying to tell her that since I've met her. She is badass. She just has to have what I trained all my Marines. You have to have a goal. You have to have a path to go down. Our marriage has become the number one thing in both of our lives now. And I sent her the clips of you. I wanted her to see what happens to people. Break her out of the shell of, like, you need to see what other people are going through at the hands of the police department, which I used to be 100% support of. And, there was actually an incident when I was 19. Tear gas has no effect either because we go through the gas chamber. So there was an officer at a bar when I was dating back then in Easton, and he was tackled by some gangs that were there, like 6 or 7 kids. I beat 3 of them off. They went for his gun, and that's where I drew the line. And for a few years after that, he was completely thankful that I was there to pull him out of the spot, because he had no idea what hit him. And I was proud of that. Now, today, I don't think I would do the same thing. I hate to say that, but I would not assist an officer in anything.
James, Josh, do you have any questions?
Yeah, but can you ask him so that... There, I'll come
Yep.
over here now.
Switch spots, I'm good.
No, you're good. Sit there. So, what? Maybe you already said it and I missed it. What charges did you leave there with?
I was finally charged with assault and battery on a police officer, intimidation of a witness, and
Resisting arrest.
That had nothing to do with breaking into my home. There were charges after the fact, proving that I did nothing wrong up front, and that I was also not going to allow them just to roll me over.
A question I'm kind of interested in is, like, I know where I'm from, the police already know when I interact with them. They know when they show up to my house that I'm a veteran before they get there. It's stamped on my ID. I don't know how Massachusetts is, if they know you are.
They do.
I know I get, a lot of the time when they come to my house and they're standoffish, just because they've had experiences with me before, and I'm never kind to them. It's I think I've said multiple times, you know, and I'm in agreement with you. Don't trust them. They never make anything better. They always make it worse. Were they aware when they pulled up to the house like that you were a veteran?
Yes, they were. They were very much aware of it.
What years did you serve?
1989 to 2001, and then 2001 to 2003.
So you did deployments to Iraq or
No
Afghanistan?
deployments.
Okay. So they know, though, that you served, and they know that you're a veteran, and they still came to your house, and you said zero announcement at the door, and then were shocked that you had a negative reaction to it.
Yes.
Now, normally in Massachusetts, the intimidation of a witness, that just shows on the arrest report, but the actual court docket will say intimidation of a witness, police officer, or court official. I didn't see any time in the video where you threatened any of the police officers. Why would they charge you with that?
I really don't know. As again, I really don't even understand why they were in my house in the first place, but they're trying to say that I wound up to swing at one of the officers, and I guarantee you I didn't do that. Because if I did, they would know it.
If you wanted to hurt them, could you have?
The first two would have went down easy.
So, unfortunately, it seems like the only one that exercised restraint was the person being assaulted.
Absolutely.
I thank you for sitting down with us. Like I told you from the beginning, I can't promise you that these charges are going to go away. I can't make you whole for the loss of money, time, the emotional strife that you and your wife have went through. What we can offer is accountability. And this is the least we can do for your service to your country then, for the protection of your wife now, and we'll do our best to assist you in getting to where you need to be. But just know that more than the people sitting in this room, there is a nation of people that are sitting here, and they still right now, 2024, they got your six.
I understand, and I appreciate that.
Good? Yeah. Excellent job, man.
Since the filming of this interview, Rich and his wife continue to be victims of the Concord Police Department, the town of Concord, and their landlords. And their failed attempt at legal representation isn't helping. So just like I told Rich and his wife off camera, I'm happy to tell you now that any and all proceeds of this video will go directly to Rich and his wife for their legal representation. I often talk about and take very seriously the sacrifices that our veterans make on behalf of our family, our freedoms, and our Constitution. And too often those sacrifices are ignored by the same government that demand they go into battle, risking their lives for the very freedom I just mentioned. Enough is enough, and we will no longer accept their willful ignorance of that sacrifice. It should be expected that our veterans are cared for and provided for after the sacrifices they make for we the people. But instead they're left unattended, with mental illness not treated, often homeless and abused. But for the few lucky souls that make it out of that diagnosis, like Richard, they're turned on by the very country that they swore to defend. Well, they're speaking now, and I hear their voices. Do you? Are you one of the people that are going to look at this video and say, what happened to them is awful? You'll leave a comment in the comments section, and that'll be that. You'll move on with your day. Or will you be one of the few people that hang on every one of Rich's words and the words of his wife? Will you digest this tragedy? And will you, on your own 2 feet, stand up and demand justice for one stranger that, without question, was happy and proud to fight for all of you? Check out James Freeman and Gorilla Publishing. Subscribe to them. Tell them Accountability for All sent you. And don't forget, this is the land of the free because of the brave. People like Rich, despite how the town of Concord, Massachusetts might treat them. And that's the reason I stopped you today.